And hello everybody, this is Jeffrey, and I am bringing you another ranked game. I haven't brought you one in a while because new bloom and stuff, but today I kind of took a break from serious new blooming. That sounds weird. That sounds like a second virginity, actually. Nah, I took a break from New Bloom, and today I actually played some ranked games, because as anyone who's been following my channel knows, I've actually been playing quite a bit of Chen recently, and I've been having quite a bit of fun, and Chen is one of those staple heroes most supports should learn at some point, most really dedicated supports, because Chen fits into a specific situation that the general group of supports don't. So while the pick is happening, I'll explain it. Now, the first kind of supports that people know of are the aggressive supports. These are the ones that either are good at harassing or ganking. People like Vengeful Spirit, Silencer, they kind of just stay in lane, and they soak up some EXP, and they do well without too many levels, but the main thing is that if you're not paying attention, they can lead to a gank, or they can harass you so far out of lane. The other kind of support are the babysitting supports, the defensives, people like Dazzle, people like Omni Knight, people who make sure that the person in lane kind of just stays alive all the time. Now, depending on the situation, these supports can fit into your standard dual lanes, your defensive tri-lanes, your aggressive tri-lanes, your roaming gankers, so on and so forth. But sometimes you end up in a situation where either depending on the opponent's lineup or depending on your lineup, none of the lanes really want to be too aggressive, and none of the lanes really need to be too defensive. And sometimes, as long as the person plays well, they will survive fine in a solo lane. So in this case, for instance, Sniper. Sniper generally should survive, well, Sniper or Drow should do fine in a solo lane by themselves. Sniper has the range and Drow has Gust. So Chen fits in, because Chen and most jungling supports basically allow for a bit of aggression, a bit of defensive situations when needed, but more importantly, you get EXP and gold without having to take it away from someone else. I mean, alternatively, some lineups have your position 3s in the jungle, people like Nature's Prophet. Well, Nature's Prophet's more of a position 2. People like Enigma, who can kind of just go into the jungle and survive there. Now, the reason why I prefer Chen over Enigma as if I'm a jungle support is because Enigma does well, but he kind of wants to be aggressive. So he kind of ends up wanting to gank more, and he doesn't really stay in the jungle. So it ends up turning into more of a tri-lane character, in my opinion at least. Now, I know people who've seen Puppy, he does well, and there's a lot of guides out there showing people like how Enigma can get to level 6 in 5 minutes if you do it right. But I like Chen because Chen allows for a lot of versatility. That and the fact that when he rotates and when he's mobile, he's just so threatening. Early on, at least. Later on, not so much. But this game goes on for quite a while. I believe it goes for about 52 minutes, so I hope you can bear with me while I try and explain what happens. And we'll talk about how Chen starts off and how he transitions as the game goes on and what sort of roles you take. Now, I should also probably state that even though this is ranked and even though I have been practicing Chen a bit, I'm not fantastic with Chen. I do think I'm proficient. I don't think you're gonna be seeing me do many big plays, but sometimes in Dota, if your entire team is just proficient at what they do and they know where to be when they need to be, that's all you really need. Now in this case, Windranger was randomed, because I don't know what happened, but Pink just kind of stood there for a while. And I think he DCs in a bit, along with the Necrophos. So we'll be focusing on the Chen. This is my Chen set, by the way. I'm quite happy with this one. I get to look like a Chinese warlord of some sort. Yeah. Anyway, so I get the career and I get awards because I'm the only real support on my team. There's a Windranger, but I don't really count on many Windrangers in pub games getting awards, unless you're like in a fairly high MMR, and I'll be honest, I'm not fantastic. Sometimes I go into a ranked match with a... Sorry. Sorry, Skywrath takes a hell of a long time to say that. So, I don't really count on many other people getting awards. Now, this is the account I've had since I started the game, so sometimes I've gone into ranked with a hero that, you know, I've practiced a little bit here in normal games. I'm fairly confident in him. But sometimes I go into rank with heroes I'm not like 80% proficient, like 60 or 70% proficient at. And maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but I think for me it's the learning experience that matters more. I think eventually I'll be able to pick up my MMR. So I put this ward down. Now admittedly this ward is pretty damn early, but the reason I get to this position so early is because, especially when you're playing people like Chen, you cannot risk anyone coming into your jungle and blocking your camps. Because really there's only one thing Chen's gonna be doing at level 1, and that's not laning. So yeah. And I believe I gave a ward to the sniper. No, I gave a ward to whoever goes mid, which is the Medusa. No? Did I just keep the second ward for myself? No. Where's the other ward? There's a ward somewhere. There's a spare ward somewhere. Oh, it's here. It's planted by someone. Huh. I actually didn't know this. Apparently if someone else is holding on to a ward that I've given them, they still get the, it says it's owned by them. Anyway. So we end up with a Windranger and Sniper dual lane. A Drow Ranger off lane, which is really dangerous because it's actually pretty hard for her. Like, Windranger or a Sniper, I could see this, but Drow Ranger solo off lane is very difficult in my opinion. It's to her advantage, however, that she's up against Bounty Hunter, because Bounty Hunter isn't a good ganking hero. He doesn't have any disable, no slow, no nuke, so he's just trying to gimmickly harass her. It's late, give me a break. I play these games and then I record them, and most of the time I have to rewatch these replays like twice just to know what the hell it is I'm doing. Okay, so this particular creep, by the way, is probably not one of the better ones that you want early on. This one is one of the better ones because this one comes with a good aura that's very aggressive, a slow, a nuke, whereas the Red Satyr, his aura is good if you have more than one creep. It's never one of your favorite first creeps. So this is just me going in to harass. But as you can see, I have a lot of right-click damage. If I should have probably let my team know what was going on, but that was unfortunate. Yeah, I just rotate in, do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight. Then I go and pull their camp for them. Okay, so let's talk about what sort of creeps you want. I think there are two kinds of creeps that are optimal early on. The first one is the Dark Troll Summoner, because he comes with a targeted snare. And that's just great for any sort of gank. The other one is the Red Hawk, flappy things, because when you have him, you just stack a camp and then you can use the tornado to farm the camp the whole time. The Centaur is a great second creep because he can follow up the net from the summoner with a hard stun, but it's very hard to land early on unless the enemy team isn't paying attention. Now these two basically means that I have to hope the enemy team, one, hasn't warded this spot, and two, is just not paying attention, because as you can see, the response time is horrible. And there we go. Because I have 2 AoE stuns essentially. And that's all I need to do. Just rotate in, and I got a kill for Sniper, which is of course nice. So yeah, Dark Troll Summoner, one of the better ones with this Ensnare, and then you partner it up with either the Hellbear or the Centaur. I've actually been liking the Hellbear quite a bit because the Hellbear comes with less health, but that slam seems to do more damage. Plus the attack speed aura is nice. So I'm just waiting for this camp to get pulled. As you can see, I'm actually just waiting right here. Because once the camp is pulled, then it's either free EXP for your team or the enemy team will move forward. And once I see that they've moved forward, as you can see, I don't know. So I'm just waiting. And once I see, I go in. They don't even know I'm here. But I ping this time because I learned my lesson. Get in on Necrolite. And that's all she wrote. I will say Skywrath and Necrolite have no defensive abilities. They can't really handle the kind of pressure that I put out. So, yeah. Chen is very good at these early aggressions. But, at the same time, Chen drops off very quickly because you depend on these creeps that pretty much stay permanently level 5 all game long. But as you can see, my team is getting a fairly decent EXP lead. Not a gold lead apparently, and I'm not sure why. But apparently the Radiant side was actually having the advantage, so it's probably bot lane. I doubt Drow is doing too well in terms of farm. Actually, no, she's doing well. Yeah, but Lifestealer is beating her, so there we go. So we know they're here. And one thing I could do better in is positioning my creeps. So they silence me, which isn't really that big of a deal because my creeps are the ones casting the disables. But they move forward again. So, yep. This is all that I need to do. Get a little bit of gold, a little bit of EXP. And then the same shenanigans. So, I send my creeps out ahead. And this happens. So once again, it's Necrolite out of position. My centaur didn't have enough mana to do his stun, so I just used the tornado. Shadowfiend rotated, and we didn't catch that. Yeah, this was a little unfortunate because he busted out all of his shrapnels earlier over here, and they weren't even hitting anything. It didn't help that I didn't have my centaur. But yeah. So Shadowfiend gets some early kills. Lifestealer gets a kill on Drow Ranger. That's all unfortunate. But Sniper gets some kills, I get some kills, and that's translating to a buckler. So early on with Chen, your goal should actually be to gank and or push, because you're not gonna be scaling very well because you depend on those creeps. But what you do very well is the fact that early on, I'm level 5, and these things are level 5, and they have insane amounts of hit points. They don't have much in terms of right click. I have a lot more right click than they do. But between their auras and their spells, they are well worth the title of like a level 4, level 3 sort of character. Anyway, so they try to dive the Windranger, which is a horrible idea because they've got no stun, no real nuke power. And this translates to a kill. Yep. And there we go.
Top tower is under attack.
So now that I've got quite a few creeps, this Satyr with his 4 HP regen per second aura is really useful, because that's like another headdress. And it stacks because it's not actually a headdress, it's aura. So I'm level 6, I've got Hand of God at 8 minutes. I'm actually doing pretty well for myself. This is the peak period for me in the game. Chen is kind of like a push in Crystal Maiden. I should have gone to push, but instead I rotate right here.
Dire structures are fortified. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So let's talk about how I fit into this
Bad dudes, middle tower, everyone, go, now!
Yeah, let's talk about how I fit into this team. Yeah, I really couldn't do anything to this, unfortunately. I didn't have a follow-up stun. If you are ganking specific people, you can just go for try and get 3 of the trolls. And then... Now at this point they probably know I'm rotating. But they haven't done any warding. So they don't exactly know where I am. But they've seen me at mid, so they'll probably make an educated guess. I was about to say edumacated. It just goes to show how tired I am. So he's right here, he sees us. We pull this camp, and really as long as my summoner has mana for his net, we are actually going to be fine. As you can see, the speed at which this tower goes down is high, because these creeps really painful. But once again, like I said, I'm gonna be dropping off fairly quickly. Chen kinda just lasts until, I was gonna say level 10ish. Yeah, I didn't have mana for my Hand of God, unfortunately. I've just gotten it. So at this point, here's one good question to think about. Are the sentry wards more important than me getting my mech? And that's really, like, normally you'd say, yeah, the sentry wards are really important because getting a kill is great for your team, especially with this lineup. But Chen is very good at pushing, and the creeps I've got in particular are push creeps. I have a creep that gives the armor aura, and I have a creep that gives the health regen aura. I have push creeps. And I have buckler. I am actually in a great position to push. And, well, it turns into this opportunity cost thing. Do I make the most out of that sentry ward? Do we actually get the kill? Is an easy question to ask. Because their support would be Skywrath or Bounty Hunter, and those two scale significantly better than I do. One thing I could have done was to use my Heartstopper aura to pay a little bit closer attention to how all of this works, because I didn't realize he was there until much later. I could have used Hand of God to save her, I didn't. That was my bad. That was most unfortunate. So really, have I paid for myself? Well, arguable. The sniper doesn't really have much to show for it, because he went mask. Sorry, my accent slips. Fun fact: I don't have a fixed accent. My accent adapts to whoever I'm talking to. But yeah. So I try and drop aggro of the creep, spread the damage, and I push another tower. And this is good.
Radiant's tower
So have I paid for myself? Let's look at the graphs. Gold graph? No. The enemy team's winning. EXP graph? No. Enemy team's winning. So when you pick an extremely early game hero like this, you really need to be able to pay for it. And well, I'm doing things. I'm roaming, I am helping people get kills, I'm setting up for a lot of kills. 5 out of the 7 kills from my team were involved me. But no one on my team really has taken advantage of that farm. Drow's doing well, but not fantastic. And Shadowfiend is one of those heroes who has mid-game strength. And his AoE means that I'm kind of boned sometimes. I will say though, I actually got a little frustrated because this Medusa maxed out split shot and didn't take any points in the mana shield, which explains why Medusa's been dying so much.
Bad dude's top tower's gonna fall over soon.
And Skywrath comes in, and I stupidly just run through his ult again.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
So he comes in.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
But Medusa and Sniper get the kill before me and Windranger die. So at least we get some EXP out of all of this.
That's a twofer.
Medusa really should have turned off her split shot for the extra damage, but whatever. And really, if Drow had turned around a little bit sooner, that might not have happened.
Got in himmer.
And the Necrophos comes in. So, I mean, all in all, I suppose it's a bit of a win for us, because Medusa scales better than Necrophos. I believe this Necrophos ends up getting a Dagon. So yeah. So how do I fit in with my team then? Well, the main thing is that my team has no real initiation. And my entire team is fairly squishy. So mainly we kinda just need my creeps to be there to tank things, like and just go in there. Please don't turn that into a GIF. Well, I don't think there's any of you out there who's really gonna turn it into a GIF. GIF, whatever. I don't know. So Medusa's really in a bad spot over here and has absolutely no regen to speak of, aside from that bottle. So at this point I've gotten my mech and I'm just buying lots of wards, because now is the time when I'm like, yeah, we just want to make sure that Bounty Hunter gets shut down, because the Bounty Hunter fulfills almost the same sort of roles I do. This whole roaming threat. Now I have more disabled than the Bounty Hunter, but the Bounty Hunter has the strength of initiation. Yeah, this is unfortunate. I land the net on the Lifestealer, which wasn't who we would have wanted it to be on. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I did not land my stun.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And this is... So yeah. So Drow gets the kill before Shadowfiend does, and gets more gold out of it too, so it's actually an advantage for us. I didn't get to land a stun in time, which means that this was wasted. Unfortunate. But at this point I've actually got a fairly decent lineup. I've got 2 good auras, and I've got something that can set up for kills. It's really muscle memory sometimes with Chen. You gotta just learn to get your...
Are fortified.
get used to your keys so that you know how to just swap between, because I've noticed that the order in which the creeps appear when you select all of them stays the same. I can't select multiple units here, but in-game when you select multiple units, especially when they're neutral creeps, they'll always appear in the same order, which is nice to know. And this is one of the benefits of having a Chen around, because, like I said, the auras given by Chen mean that Chen can just go in and get kills. This was not the best order. I should have thrown got someone else to use their spell first, because I could have cast Penitence on Roshan. But either way, Sniper gets it. So this is actually a fairly even game, slightly in the enemy team's favor, but not by any large amount. And I don't see the bounty hunter here. So I go in, I try and threaten their jungle a little bit. So, yeah. By the way, if you've actually scared a bounty hunter such that they're actually afraid to go and roam in your side of the field, you're actually starting to... it's actually a win. It's one of those wins that you can't really... we got denied. It's one of those things that it's not really talked about enough, but bounty hunter gives so much vision. And when you deny that vision, that's part of winning against the bounty hunter. So, I mean, I'm fairly effective as it is, and all I've got so far is a mech. I turned this into a Ring of Basilius. You can turn into a Vlad's, but sometimes the mana regen and the aura is enough. If Sniper hadn't started firing at the Shadowfiend, this might have turned into something a little more substantial. That was unfortunate. So I put down my wards. And they can't really engage into my creep lineup. My creep lineup right now is very strong. So this should be in our advantage.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Pop the mech for the armor.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So you can see this goes down so fast. It's impressive.
Yo, good guys. Middle tower got owned. Get mad or get even.
So I throw the hand out, but it's not enough to save me. And Sniper is gonna come out into that. My creeps are trying to deal some damage, but even all my cooldowns are currently being used. I mean, Sniper gets a kill on Shadowfiend, which is nice, but this is not gonna pay for itself. And Windranger, by the way, in this game does something that really bothers me, and I'll talk about it later. In fact, this Windranger was one of the more weaker members of our team. It's unfortunate. I would say in terms of who does well for the team, it was... Drow was the most effective person on the team. Effective... And then Sniper and Medusa were both alright. Medusa made a call that really didn't make sense, and I'll explain why in a bit. See, Medusa, well, I'll explain it now since she already has it. Medusa got Maelstrom. And Medusa's split shot doesn't work. As it says, the extra targets will not receive the attack effects and unique attack modifiers. So what that means is that when you fire it, only one of the arrows will be a chain lightning arrow. The rest will just be normal arrows. So usually when you're playing Medusa, you just want to get flat damage, because anything else is pointless. The only exception would be a Scotty, because Scotty can be combined with weird things. I don't know why certain unique attack modifiers work the way they do. I mean, if you're interested in finding out, just let me know in the comments and I will actually do a little bit of research and give you the answer. But for me, it's just, it doesn't, or it does work. And with Scotty, well, as you'll see, only one of the arrows actually does chain lightning, meaning that the main strength of the skill of the item is significantly weaker. Also, this game was a bit problematic for me because everyone started taking from the jungle, and I kinda need the jungle when I'm Chen, just a little bit. So, what are important items for Chen? Let's talk about it. One of the more important items for Chen is of course the mech. There's very little reason to be not getting the mech on him, simply because he has like a mini army on him. So Drow's in a really bad position. I used Hand of God to try and help Drow, but unfortunately, sorry, Sniper. But unfortunately that didn't pay off because Sniper kind of just stayed there. But Drow's started snowballing. Yeah. So aside from mech, Vlad's. Let's talk about Vlad's. Vlad's is one of the more interesting things to discuss because one, my entire team is ranged. But Vlad's is useful for the damage aura and for the fact that you will have creeps. And for the fact that you will help pushes a lot more because even your lane creeps will start lifestealing. Aside from that, there's the Necronomicon. Now, Necronomicon is a masochistic item to get because you already have enough units to manage, and you're giving yourself more units with active skills. But Necronomicon is undoubtedly a strong item in this game because of Bounty Hunter. Because a level 3 Necronomicon unit has True Sight. The fact that the mana burn is decent. So all in all, it's a very strong item. However, it's also one that requires a fair bit of investment. So what else is there? Aghanim's. Aghanim's is useful. Aghanim's in a proper game is one of the stronger items you could get because it reduces the cooldown of your Hand of God by 30 seconds. And the ability to do that is very important against an enemy lineup that looks like it's based around trying to gank you a whole ton. And also because my lineup doesn't really have much in the way of hard stunts. Now as you can see, I blocked their ancient camps because Lifestealer is one of those heroes who can get it. So you always want to make sure you can get it. You block it. Aside from Aghanim's and Mech and Vlad's, there's also Assault Cuirass. Now Assault Cuirass is really greedy, and most of the time a carry will take it because of the armor values, but sometimes you want to get it because, you know, tanky. If you somehow get the farm for it, be my guest. But more often than not, I think it would probably be more beneficial for you to just get a Rod of Atos. The Rod of Atos is a cheap item that is fairly effective for what it has. So the enemy team, we see the enemy team because of that courier. And Sniper gets the kill here because the enemy team has absolutely no vision whatsoever. Now none of my units are going to be particularly strong at initiating a fight. So unfortunately, that's how it's going to have to be. But yeah, Drow's doing well. Drow's got a Mantis style and a Mask of Madness. This is a Sentry Ward, yep. So, once again, like I said, I sort of realized, you know what, I'm not really going to be fantastic if this goes on too long. So I try to start a gank, so start a push, and this happens, and I'm in no position to really do anything. I try my best to help, try to get stun off, give the extra damage, and now I'm trying to block with this creep. It's sad, but I lose a creep. Happens. Okay, here's another thing to talk about then. What about hunting for very specific creeps? Well, unfortunately, no. The time it takes to properly go in and hunt, and of course you have to clear camps if you don't get the creeps you want, means that you're not always going to get the specific lineup you want. And sometimes looking at the creeps you can get should decide how you play. If you get a lot of the aura creeps, then you should try to focus on pushing. If you get the troll summoners, then focus on ganking. And sometimes you're going to be in a situation where you can't do what your creeps are good for. And you'll end up in a bit of a conflict. It is a weakness of Chen's. I'm also out of tea. So, I'm over here right now, and just gonna do some warding. Now, let's talk about vision then. The enemy team sees me. I am a bait. I am a bait right now. I block that camp, by the way, and then I take a creep. But we have a fairly good amount of vision on the map. We see where they are. It's unfortunate. Necrophos nearly kills this, but we also get to know that he has a double damage rune. Unfortunately, Drow didn't get the message, and Drow just dies. It happens. It happens. What? It's a MOBA. People YOLO, pick carries, and try and go for kills, and then don't pay attention. Now, the Drow is actually one of our better players. I quite liked the Drow. So. Yep. So that heal helped a whole ton. It's unfortunate, but yeah. So I was in no position to get this kill because Necrophos does a fair bit of damage, and then I just died. So that was a bad call by me. I didn't really pay attention to who I was with. I thought, oh, Necrophos is squishy. I could get the kill, but apparently not. Necrophos does get pretty tanky, and if you can't burst him down, he's just gonna be able to heal up. So there's that. Plus, he was the one who got the kill in Sniper, so he has all of these stacks of Sadist that are healing him up. So I've literally hit the point where I'm gonna be quite weak in terms of both ganking and clashing. What I'm still gonna be strong at is pushing. But it means that now that you don't really want the centaur creeps. You want the Hellbear, the Satyr, the Hawk, and the Wolf. And then you'll have 3 of the better auras, and then you can go and push a lane all by your lonesome, and then die. A squishy, squishy death. So, I recommended the Daedalus to Medusa, and I recommended the Lincoln Sphere. But the Medusa has 2 ultimate orbs, so I guess this is a Skadi? Yep. And of course Mana Shield, which is one of the most important abilities for Medusa. Always get it, please. And Sniper just does his thing. Nothing new. So the enemy team has an advantage in terms of gold, and gold is really what's more important right now, really. And he uses his Bling Dagger, I use my spells, and I use my penitence. So these two dive, and Medusa now gets to just go in and kill them. So that was a good trade, and apparently elsewhere things died, but I don't really care. So that was a huge win in our favor. Particularly for the Medusa, because Medusa hard carries really, really well. Surprisingly, we didn't have much of a gold swing. We had an EXP swing, but apparently not a gold swing. So, lanes are being pushed. This is everything I could ask for as a Chen. So right now, what's important? To be honest, in hindsight now, I think I should have gone into the jungle and farmed up my Aghanims. Because now I've hit that point where I'm... like, I'm still doing alright. I don't need to just be an aura totem that follows my team around. So I should try for the Aghanims, because the Aghanims will allow me to still do what I've been doing for a while. And push pretty damn hard. So, Sniper gets this kill. I use my ult to help Sniper, but he didn't get out of it that, so... Rubber Band effect means Skywrath Mage actually gets a pretty decent amount of gold out of this, but we've pushed this lane again. As you can see, I'm just getting my creeps back. So, once again, it was really unfortunate. A few of these were wolf creeps, and this camp doesn't give me any aura that I want. So, I was just waiting to take control of this one. Now, once you have these 3 creeps, you can actually push. You can actually clear camps very fast. The crit's actually pretty strong. I was hoping for a hawk, and then I would go and push a lane or something. And that's one benefit to a jungle support, is that because you can jungle, you don't always have to stay in lane, and sometimes you can farm fairly safely if you're in that position in the game where you don't know if you want to be in lane. No one really needs your help, and more often than not, if you try and help anyone, you'll be a liability. That may or may not also be attributed to the fact that most of my team has this lovely item called the Shadow Blade. I wanted to go in to try and... I healed, and then I was like, can I do anything for you? No? There we go. So, Nikolai win for Dagon. It's a very selfish build. I suppose it works if you're going for like a single target sort of thing. Doesn't really work here. Windranger tries to go for this thing that snipers have been doing, where it just stacks maelstroms. Please don't do that. Snipers can get away with it because they have crazy range. You have 600 range. It's not bad. It's not fantastic. So, this Windranger actually becomes completely useless for anything aside from pushing. So yeah. Chen can actually get Ancient Creeps fairly easily. That's and this is something I misunderstood. I thought that... yeah. I thought that she wanted me to go in, but she didn't. She just wanted me to... she wanted to use the dust to get into Roshan without being seen. Which is at least something to use smokes for if nothing else. Yeah. So this is really good for us. We have vision of quite a bit. So let's talk about how the enemy lineup works against us. Well, Bounty Hunter means that unless I get an upgraded Necronomicon, I am shite. Shadowfiend will massacre all of my creeps, and me, very, very easily. Lifestealer will do the exact same thing. Necrolite at this point has reached this point where he should be able to tank me and my creeps. And really, the only one on the enemy team who isn't terrifying for me is the Skywrath Mage. Which is another reason why the Ancients would be so good, because the Ancients are mostly magic immune. Now, I know a lot of people say that the Stone Golem's the only important one to get. Yeah and no. When you're pushing, sometimes just having a stronger creep is good. It's better than having two wolves with stacking, with auras that don't stack. So, in terms of item choice, like I said, I'm rushing for the Aghanim so I can still start going into our pushes. That was unfortunate. I couldn't really heal him. Give me a sec. I'll leave it to Hero Chase for a bit. By the way, the ability to recall the creeps to you is so amazing. It's one of my favorite changes to Chen. Because back then when he couldn't do that, he really had a hard time roaming around the map. Now he can roam fairly well. Here's another question for people to ponder. It's 40 minutes in. What is the most important thing to my team? And really the answer is Roshan. Like Roshan, when you are in an aggressive stance, is the most important thing to monitor. And I didn't. Like Roshan is an up, but none of us are really monitoring or watching over him, because the minute he comes back up, we should be killing him. And yeah, so Shadowfiend kind of just went AFK. But at this point, I mean, we're doing very well for ourselves in terms of EXP. Not so much in terms of gold, but starving them for EXP is a decent thing. And this is nice, like I said. Bounty Hunter has become a non-issue. Because once you really just control him early on, he fears. And once he fears your vision, then that's all there is to it. I think the threat of Bounty Hunter is the fact that early on he forces a team to starve themselves out of gold. But I mean, if you know, okay, admittedly in lower MMRs it's easy to predict where they're gonna be. So I mean, nothing's really happening here. I'll talk about Bounty Hunters in lane. So let's say Bounty Hunter's in lane. The Bounty Hunter will often try and hug side shops. The Bounty Hunter will often try and hang just behind his own creep wave. So usually I'd plant the ward right in the middle of the lane. Invis heroes don't usually try and go around here, especially Bounty Hunter. Rikimaru might, because Rikimaru might try to go around here, because Rikimaru wants to try and get his smoke screen. Yeah, words. But Bounty Hunter not so much. So especially with Bounty Hunters, don't worry about putting the ward right in the middle of the lane. Yeah, this is unfortunate. I tried to heal the sniper, but the timing was bad. A little slow, unfortunately, on my part. And I get called out. So I get my Aghanim's. Also, I admit, this is one of the first times I was really trying out Aghanim's on Chen. I actually didn't realize that you can only have as many ancient creeps as your level of Hand of God. Well, the more you know, right? And of course I pop my heal on Drow.
Double damage.
let's look at items. Focusing a bit more on my teams, things I can actually know. The Windranger, as you can see, has gotten 3 Maelstroms. The Windranger is absolutely shy. Windranger, in my opinion, is a good tower pusher. You should get Desolator, like almost always on Windranger. I don't know why you wouldn't. And Windranger just dies like that. Can I also just say that the fact that we are still having a huge EXP lead when we're up against a Necrolite is amazing, because Necrolite's ult usually means that we're gonna lose this so bad in terms of EXP. See, that's the other thing. Bounty Hunter gives his team more gold, and Necrolite denies your team more EXP. And that's actually a very interesting combo. I don't think, however, that they work well enough as a team. I keep my creeps behind because I just want the auras. I don't actually want them to die. And so now that that's all said and done, I actually just pull my creeps back. Now Medusa with Mana Shield is amazing. Once she has Linken's, she is godlike. And these guys are just getting frozen to death. What do? I just got this creep. So bonus HP by 15% in a 900 radius. Significant, boosts your creeps fairly significantly, and we decided that it's just a little more important to get that one building. One of the things I like to do is to always put down some vision in their base. And just like that, you rotate. So, once again, we still have a good EXP lead. We're starting to get the gold lead. Bounty Hunter isn't really using track appropriately. When you play Bounty Hunter, you kind of want to stay with your teammates who can nuke down people and then put track on their targets. You don't try and use track and then play like an assassin, because you don't really do enough burst. So I get Arcane Boots just because now that I have Aghanim's, the cooldown of my ult is 30 seconds. And I mean, he decides he doesn't want Arcane Boots, so I'm like, well, your choice. This particular spot is one of the spots I think needs to be warded all the time, because you always need to know when it's viable. But I've got the damage aura, I've got the health regen aura, I've got the attack speed aura, and I've got the max health aura. I use my Hand of God just to make this easier on us. And then I keep the wolf here because I don't want him dying by AoE. And basically I was told to take the Aegis because I'm the squishiest person on our team, but I'm actually wanted on the front lines to push. And so I take the cheese and the Aegis, and then the Medusa decides the Medusa wants the cheese, so I give the cheese to Medusa. I don't see anything wrong with that. And Medusa decides that he's going to put some items back. Wait, what did he just sell? I actually didn't know the Medusa was already 6. Oh, the Medusa sells the Maelstrom. Okay, that's fine. Medusa sells the Maelstrom. Yeah, so the Medusa is essentially 6 slotted aside from all that. Drow Ranger dies. It's unfortunate, but Drow Ranger just kind of got ganked really hard. This is a bad spot for us. We're just kind of grouping up right now when we don't need to. It's easy when you're in this position to think we're winning, just get into a death ball and push, but don't. That's really not the way to go. And I start pinging for us to rotate because it's really better off for us to do that. And Windranger's going for a BKB. Because I think Windranger's kind of starting to realize, you know what, this all Maelstrom thing isn't working out. Maybe if Focus Fire works like how it did when Windranger had just been created, pop my Hand of God to try and buy Windranger sometime. It doesn't work.
Manly.
So we loop around, and I actually, yeah, this was unfortunate. But now that we know the Skywrath is there, we also don't feel like we can just push in, because 4 of them are alive, and we don't have enough vision. They don't have enough vision, but neither do we. And how this reaches a point where Chen really doesn't do enough. My team has gotten the farm it needs. Most of them are actually 6 slotted or close to 6 slotted. I mean, yeah, Medusa 6 slotted aside from the cheese. Sniper is 6 slotted aside from the gem. Rangers 6 slotted pretty much. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, once you've got Eagle Song, you've got Butterfly. That's... And the enemy team is starting to try and deward because they kind of realize what's going on. And the nice thing now is that my entire team can push fairly well with Manticiles, so... What should I have gotten? Vlad's? I don't know. I'm still iffy about whether Vlad's or the Necronomicon would have been better. Like, in hindsight, Necronomicon would have allowed me to deward all of these wards, but it's not like these wards are really doing much for them anyway. And they'd be less inclined to buy wards if they thought it would like really help them. If they thought I could really just take them out that easily. Use the Hand of God to save Drow because Drow really needs saving. Unfortunately, I'm silenced. I was hoping to test a faith someone. But that's okay. And just like that, we get this.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's bottom barracks are under attack.
Huh. Is there anything else we might want to talk about? Well, I suppose we could start talking about why Chen is a bad pick then. Chen is a bad pick when your team needs you in lane. That's number one, because you're not going to be in lane very much. Can I just say how lucky I am for all of this health regen aura right now? And I say around because I've got the Aegis anyway, so I'm like, fuck it. So, Chen is also a bad pick when your opponent has roamers, like Mirana, because you're going to get caught off guard really badly. And unless you know how to handle it, unless you've actually got plans in place, because roamers will also tend to carry wards on them, and they're the kind of people who will try their best to deny your camps.
Radiant's ancient is under attack.
He tries to go in on me, and really my response is
Radiant's ancient is getting killed.
I buy back, get my Vlads, and then pull Hand of God. There we go. So Chen is a bad pick when your opponent's team has a lot of roaming presence early on, when your team needs you to be in lane a lot, whether for any purpose whatsoever, and when you're actually going for a heavy ganking team. Like, Chen has some gank power by himself. he doesn't really work well with a full-out ganking lineup, like say Pudge with Morana sort of thing would never really work with him because his ult doesn't actually help them. And this matters because his ult is a major aspect of why you'd pick him. And Chen is also really, really, really difficult to use if you're still getting around timings in the game. When it comes to buying wards, when it comes to stacking camps, because he gives you so much more work. He's almost like playing Meepo in so many ways. So yeah, but Chen is a very strong hero. He's one of those heroes that almost all supports need to have in their arsenal because he's so versatile. He's just good in so many ways. There is a reason, after all, he is a first choice ban competitively. And I mean, as time goes on, we'll see how the competitive scene adjusts to it, but right now he is so strong, and people really don't really know how to adjust to the jungle creeps suddenly coming into their lane, these level 5 creeps popping in at level 2, and just wrecking things because they use their spells properly. Know how to use your creeps very well. Go into a bot match, really try and work around with it, and really have a list of all the items you might need. Because Chen is one of those supports who doesn't really have gold starvation issues unless the enemy team is a push lineup. But he doesn't really normally have gold starvation issues. So it's very important that you think about what items to get, because he himself doesn't come with any big play spells. Like, even Hand of God is clutch, but it's not a big play. It's not one of those things that generally turn the tide of a fight, like, say, Ravage. Penitence is a great way to take down an enemy carry if your team is focused. And Test of Faith is Test of Faith. Like I said, I didn't get any Test of Faith saves in this game, partially because I wasn't really with my team a lot, but also because my team were the hit and run sort of people. We had two Shadow Blades, we had a Wind Run, and Medusa. Medusa's the only real click A, left click, watch it run into the enemy base sort of character. Aside from that, that didn't really happen. So there you go. This is Chen, and this is one of those heroes that I'm slowly going to be learning. Now that I've actually got this video up, I did a ranked video, talked about Chen play. I'll probably shelf Chen in terms of uploading Chen videos unless you all really want to see it. And I'll start moving on to other supports that I've been wanting to play a bit more. Maybe I'll get a bit of Rubik again, actually get at one of my Crystal Maiden videos, and then after that, sometime in the near future, I will revisit Chen, and then we'll see how much I've improved since then. Game awareness, map awareness, all that sort of thing. So any sort of questions you have, leave it in the comments section down below. Any sort of bigger questions you might have, or any sort of discussions, or if you want to follow what I'll be doing in the future, like my Facebook page. I'll put the link in the description down below as well. And I hope you subscribe, hope you like this video, hope it helped you in some way when it comes to playing Chen or supports in general. And I hope to see you all in the future. Bye.